It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports, Pete.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at a stop. I thought I was fine, and then once I got home, I realized it's a lot worse than I thought. I ended up having a ruptured disc. You say you're not hurting, and then an hour later, you're saying you're in all this pain. I just felt like most people would think that I was lying. And that's when I decided to call Daniel Stark. I owe a lot to Daniel Stark. They really got me what I deserved.
The difference is stark.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
Tervis is all about staying hydrated with style and durability. You can trust Tervis tumblers to keep your drinks the perfect temperature, hot or cold, for hours. From the classic insulated tumblers to sleek stainless steel water bottles, each product is built to last and comes in endless designs to match your personality. Stay refreshed and express yourself with Tervis. Visit tervis.com today and find your perfect tumbler.
Since our founding, we've been revolutionizing hair removal with cutting-edge technology and a commitment to empowerment. The U-Like Air 3, launched in 2023, ushers in a new era of sapphire ice cooling technology, offering nearly painless hair reduction in just 3 weeks. Experience the future of hair removal today at ulike.com, because at U-Like, beauty is about looking and feeling good. That's ulike.com. U-Like. With Ease US, make studio-quality voiceovers for your videos online in over 149 languages and dialects, featuring 468 natural AI voices. Customize the volume, mood, and pauses to perfectly match your content. Plus, capture high-quality videos with no watermark. Record your screen, webcam, and voice, and save them instantly to your computer. Never been easier to create professional-grade videos and voiceovers. Try it today at easeus.com. That's EASEUS.com. Ease US.
Just use AMP-Pace.
AMP-Pace.
It is the Pete Sousa Show, and we are back, and we are better than ever. Scotty Swingler, after holding it down for a whole week, is riding shotgun today on the Wheels of Steel. Of course, we are presented by Slovacek's, Crawford Austin Properties, Daniel Stark Injury Lawyers, Sikora Family Ford. We are so stoked about our relationship with Sikora Family Ford and going forward, doing more stuff with them as we have some tricks left up our sleeve here at the Rogue Media Network. By the way, Scotty, did you see we were in the Way Cohen magazine? Did you see that? We were there.
I did not see that. Nobody tells me anything around here.
In the Way Cohen magazine, it said it was like 50-something reasons to love Central Texas, and we were like 13. I think we were 13 and 14.
We're 13?
Well, the Rogue Media Network was, but they talked about our show in particular. And
Yeah.
it's good stuff. It's good stuff. Almost 30,000 subscribers.
Yeah.
Continued to grow last week when
Yeah.
it was just the Scotty Swingler show.
Yeah. What a deal.
So, and we have so much to get to today. I have so much that obviously we did that live show on Sunday night, which was a lot of fun, on the heels of the NBA Finals Game 2 and a win for Oklahoma City. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander continues to dominate. Tyrese Halliburton is certainly playing well. Needs to play better for Indiana to win. And we'll talk about the NBA Finals. We're going to have Cam Stewart on in the last block to talk a little bit about Baylor football. Always a little Bill Belichick with Cam. Oh, sorry, guys. I'm just getting back to work here. Always a little Bill Belichick with Cam. And I want to talk about this guy, Roman Anthony, the Red Sox #1 prospect, who has been called up, who I think played yesterday in his major league debut. Yeah, he did. So I want to get Cam's thoughts on that. But I want to begin with Baylor football. We are, I think, 91 days away or 90 days away from kickoff. Baylor, which we know now will be a blackout, August 29th, a Friday night game at home against Auburn. And encouraging, to say the least. Phil Steele's predictions. It's one of those things for – here's how I'll put it. That – It sort of feels like I feel validated. I'm sure a lot of Baylor fans probably feel the same way when you look at the Big 12 preseason predictions. And there's our guy Scotty, Phil Steele, and Baylor's #1. And then you have Utah, and then you have Kansas State. Then you have Arizona State coming in at 4, tied with Kansas State. Texas Tech tied as well. Texas Tech, of course, spending so much money in the NIL and having one of the best transfer portal off seasons that anyone in college football has had. You see down towards the bottom, you see BYU, which is 7th, but without Jake Retzlaff, obviously that is factored in there. The one thing, and I want to read Phil Steele's Baylor preview. Okay, this is Phil's 2025 forecast. Baylor. In 2021, Baylor rated a plus 6.3 on my SMI. And in Dave Aranda's second year, won the Big 12 title game and beat Ole Miss in the bowl to finish with a school record 12 wins, #5 in the AP. Of course, we remember that. All signs pointed down in 2022. Baylor got to 6-3, but lost their last 4 games in 2023. Baylor was 3-4, then lost the last 5. This is all stuff we obviously knew. Last year, they had an SMI of plus 6.0. After they allowed a Hail Mary touchdown to Colorado, they lost to Iowa State and were just 2-4, but won their last 6 games before a bowl loss. This year, 15 starters return. I want to repeat that in today's college football. That is impressive. 15 starters return. And they get 5 Big 12 home games and have the 4th best schedule in the conference. I think we also talk about his first team, all Big 12. Sawyer Robertson and Bryson Washington. Also, Omar, what's that? Agbedion, right? Scotty, I think that's how you say his name, right? Offensive guard. Baylor's looking pretty good, man. You got, of course, Josh Cameron on your second team as a wide receiver. This was extremely exciting for me, but I will say, and I'm not trying to pour water on anything, but last year, hold on. But last year, Phil Steele's predictions were upside down for the Big 12. I think he had BYU last. I think he had Arizona State last, and I think he had Oklahoma State and Utah 1 and 2, and they finished at the bottom. And the 2 teams I mentioned at the predicted to be in the bottom finished at the top. Now I don't think that's. Go ahead.
To be fair,
let's be fair.
That was everybody in the media. I don't know anybody that had Arizona State at the top.
No, you're
exactly. I was also guilty of having Oklahoma State in the top 2. in my preseason rankings.
So did I.
last year.
I was still, if you remember, I was still hanging on. I was ready for Oklahoma State to turn it around just about any time up until they got just completely annihilated by Colorado on the road in that last game. But what do you attribute that to? Now, do you attribute that to this new state of flux we're in with college sports, especially when you find yourself outside of the Big Ten and the SEC? Like, it's just harder to predict, And this year, could it be the same story? Is it difficult now to handicap college sports? More difficult than ever.
I have some bias in what I'm about to tell you.
You always do.
I think the Big 12 has taken on a similar identity in football that it has in basketball, in that you don't have one you may not have one national championship caliber team. You might, but you may not. But you have like maybe 10 teams going into this season that are really freaking good.
Yeah.
Like really good. You have great coaches in this league. Like the fact that Utah and Oklahoma State both finished so low in the conference last season with Kyle Whittingham and Mike Gundy at the helm tells you how competitive and deep top to bottom this conference is. Whereas I would argue, and I think this has been an argument for a long time, SEC Big Ten, your best of the best might beat the Big 12 best of the best. But I would put the 12th team in the Big 12 up against the 12th team in the SEC or the Big 10 any day.
Yeah.
Any day. I think it's a deeper league.
I agree.
Harder to predict from that perspective.
And I don't want to be like, you or I, like promoting for the Big 12, saying how relevant the conference is. And it does sound like you're reaching a little bit when you start to say these statistics, but it's going to be so competitive from top to bottom. Like you said, like any team in the Big 12, you almost feel like there's a chance that they could win the Big 12 conference. And I think we'll see a lot of very close games once again. I'm so interested to see how Texas Tech does with all the money they're having spent in the transfer portal in this last year, where, this first conversation, right, kind of moves us into like that house settlement a little bit, which I don't want to get over my skis and not have everything down here. But I've got a good feel and a good vibe for a lot of the details here, and what that's going to do to college sports in particular. The Big 12 is at the top of the fray, but when you talk about Group of Five schools, they're kind of screwed, I feel like. Go ahead.
Dude, I wanted to bring this up as we talked about this, so I'm sorry.
By the way, the Thunder's rolling outside, Garth Brooks. I love it, dude.
Hey, wait, do you know what my headline is for the finals today?
No. There we go. No, I didn't.
We're on the same page on the references today.
But
it is storming here in Central Texas.
Yeah.
No, I wanted to mention this because this came out right after the House settlement, Pete. You talk about Group of Five schools being in trouble. Did you see the joint statement from the American volleyball coaches, national wrestling coaches, swimming and diving coaches, and track and field coaches?
No, but I imagine they started it all out with the song Taps, because that's what it feels like.
Yeah.
For those Olympic sports, it sucks, dude. They're in trouble.
I know. So those four got together and they put out this statement immediately after. We are concerned the new financial obligations placed on schools will force administrators to divert attention and resources away from non-football and non-basketball sports, the programs in which the majority of NCAA student athletes participate. And they asked Congress and the new College Sports Commission to consider enforcing regulations that will allow schools to continue competing in these, because that's a good point. Football and basketball generate the most revenue by far, but if you just took most of your student athletes on campus, most of them are running track.
Yeah.
Or at Baylor, I know this is not an NCAA sport, but doing acrobatics and tumbling. Like those are the sports that give the most kids the scholarships and the opportunity to continue competing.
Well, and they contribute.
They could get slashed.
Well, and they contribute to like a healthy heartbeat within the athletic department. And like that's sort of like social and camaraderie standpoint that athletes share, as a whole. It's like, if you're in the dining hall and you're a football player, and you may not have any experience or interaction with a member of the track team, but you know that you are at that university because of a particular skill set you have fused with your, hopefully ambitions to further your education, but it's sort of like, hey, you and me, we're in this together. You know, like now it's, I feel like that the potential that falling off, and even after we're coming off the highest rated softball championship game ever, women's sports is booming, college basketball in particular, and that's going to be screwed up. Like that's like the money, you know, if you get $20.5 million, like that's not going to go towards softball. Like, you know, only a fraction is. And this is another thing that, like, right now, you know, you see these collectives who I can't even say right now anymore because this is before this House settlement, but these collectives would rally and yeah, they would do their look, man, there was a lot of massaging going on, and why shouldn't there have been? There were basically no rules. And if I could give Scotty, you know, $10 million to advertise a tractor for a tractor company that I have somewhere in Texas, right, for a 30-second ad. That's the name, image, likeness ideals that are obviously being taken advantage of there when you're paying someone an overwhelming amount of money, more than you would ever pay anyone, to just do a 30-second advertisement, right? But like that is still in play, but now the NCAA, or not the NCAA, by the way, according to guys like Paul Feinbaum, is just like total toast. Which is I heard him say yesterday on Dan Patrick that Charlie Baker, the president of the NCAA, is basically he's just been thrust into the position of trying to look busy now, as that whole organization. Because we remember growing up and you think about the NCAA and it's like, oh, they're the hammer. They're going to keep everyone in line. The NCAA has come to your town. They are going to, you know, enforce rules and place sanctions on your team or your school if they have been doing wrong. They can't do that. There's no place for them to do that anymore.
Well, now they're building this whole new organization, the College Sports Commission.
Yeah, with the guy from Major League Baseball.
Yeah, with Brian Seeley. And I just Googled it because I had seen this earlier this morning. It says, and I don't know where Google AI is getting this, but I've seen it in multiple places. Most schools are expected to allocate roughly 75% to football, 15% to men's basketball, 5% to women's basketball, and 5% to all other sports. Texas Tech, for example, plans to distribute 74% to football, 17 to 18 to men's basketball, 2% to women's basketball, 1.9% to baseball, and the remainder to all other sports. So it is a wildly
well. And let me ask you this: how do you police all the other stuff like the collectives? How do you, because you've got your salary cap of 20.5.
Yeah, 20.5
million across all your sports. Right. And then outside of that, the players still have the right to have NIL deals, right? Like, but they have to be legitimate. And they're having these now, like, I think there's one enforcement agency, for lack of a better term, called like NIL Go, right? This is legitimate, by the way. I read this. And NIL Go would be a body that oversees a lot of this stuff, right? The NIL contracts. But like the moment that one of those NIL Go or this NIL Go organization says, no, the deal for Scotty was illegitimate, that was not in the true spirit of NIL, then you're going to sue that NIL Go. And then you've got a whole nother set of circumstances, which is why now they're talking more than ever about getting Congress involved. And as much as there's a lot of pomp and circumstance around that, and the president who's in the office now feels like, you know, obviously we're talking about Trump, obviously is like kind of he's bullish on making something happen with college sports. He's very willing to get involved. Feinbaum was like, that's still slim that something like that is going to come into place and actually take place. So as much as I feel like we're in better footing, or closer to a solution than we were, 5 days ago, 6 days ago. Of course, this has been going on forever. What do you think?
I do too, and I mostly think we're closer to a healthy resolution because Mack Rhodes, Baylor's athletic director, seemed to indicate that in an interview over the weekend. And I did see a screenshot of a Zoom meeting between 6 conference commissioners, including Brett Yormark of the Big 12, where it seems like at minimum the benefit of this is all these conference commissioners are kind of talking to each other again about how to make this work and stay competitive rather than this. I've heard less of this. The Big Ten and the SEC are going to break away and build their own. Like, I think it helps kind of bring football together in that way. But it's still going to be like, I will be gutted. Like Scotty B pointed out a few minutes.
What's Scotty B saying? What are our guys saying?
Scotty B's been talking a lot, but he pointed out that Central Arkansas already cut women's tennis. He's worried about Baylor equestrian, which of course gives a ton of scholarships to girls from Texas and around the country. So I think that's where we're going to be gutted here in Waco. If women's sports start getting gutted, or baseball loses its ability to be competitive forever because we can't get the money or the scholarships. Like that stuff is daunting to me because as you said, when you our whole identity for over 100 years now with college athletics is you root for all these sports and all these athletes are significant on campus and they all matter, and it's cool that like an equestrian girl from West Texas can get a full scholarship just like a football player from Houston, and they can go to school together and get the same education.
Totally.
Like that's really important.
It is, and I do believe that, and it's not been talked about like on the record, but off the record a ton over the last, and this is 10, 15, 20 years, like a growing resentment within athletic departments, like from football in particular, and basketball in particular, because of the television rights deals in Power 5 conferences.
I mean, that is what it is.
That trickle down to these football programs, whether you're Michigan or Minnesota in the Big Ten, right? Like you're bringing in a lot of dough for your school. Meanwhile, and I was traveling once, I was spotting once, and I was with a college football coach, a very good coach, who was no longer, he was retired at this point in time. But we were in an airport in like, I don't know, let's say Indiana, and there was like the San Diego State volleyball team, traveling through Indianapolis or whatever. And the coach was like, now, how the hell do you think that happens? He's like, who's paying for, and this was this particular coach. This is not my opinion, but he's like, who's paying for that team to be, you know what I mean? Like they're not paying their own way. It comes from the football revenue. So there's been this school of thought forever, and a real sharp resentment, I believe, among a lot of major players in athletic departments where this has been brewing forever. It's just not been talked about, like the way, certainly not by the coaches, let's say, of football teams, powerful football teams. They're not going to go out there and publicly take a dump on the field hockey team or the volleyball team.
Yeah.
But that's been growing and growing and growing. And the moment an opportunity comes into play where that can be changed, obviously people jump on it and take advantage.
Yeah. It's a lot to think about.
It is a lot to think about.
Can I give you some insight into something that Baylor did kind of sneakily recently?
Yes,
not
please.
sneakily, but like I don't think a lot of people are aware of this. But these are the kind of things that are going to start happening. So Baylor, in an effort, I think, to make some of this work with all the sports, inside the football stadium, there's the Baylor Club, right?
Yeah.
Which is a kind of a country club, fine dining,
I'm excited about what you're going to tell
bar
me here. What is this?
That exists inside McLean Stadium, right?
Yeah.
And since they built it, it's been run by Club Corps, which is a national conglomerate of these clubs. And if you're a member at Baylor Club, you got access to all these other Club Corps clubs all around the country, because Baylor very strictly wanted to keep Baylor Club separate from Baylor University because they sell alcohol and it's a different thing. Do you know Baylor Athletics has taken over operation of Baylor Club in the last month?
No kidding.
They have. And it's because they want now every penny of that revenue that comes in through Baylor Club, because they need it. They need it to fund all this stuff. Because you're no longer going to be able to just take all that football money and put it into volleyball. Like, you have to create other revenue streams. So now if you're a member of Baylor Club, you've lost your Club Corps membership.
Really?
Yes. But they're partnered with, I don't remember all the schools. There's all these other college and universities that have done the same things. Like I know like UNC and several others now, if you're a member of Baylor Club, you can go to their football stadiums, clubs, to get in because Baylor Athletics needs that revenue. My prediction, there's only maybe 10,000 people that care about this that would ever see this.
I care.
My prediction here is I think Baylor is going to maybe anger some good old Texas Baptists, and I would be shocked if within 3 years they're not selling beer in the stadium. Which, for outsiders, Baylor's never sold alcohol.
It's a huge deal.
Never sold alcohol at athletic events because of Baptist conviction and all these things. But now that these athletic departments need to make this money, especially to keep some of the non-football sports alive, it will shock me if by 2028 Baylor's not selling beer at the football games.
If I go to a Baylor game, because I don't know this. If I go to a Baylor game and I have Baylor Club access, I can drink alcohol during the game, right? Or no?
No, it's complicated. So the club seats at the football games, they do not sell alcohol.
Okay.
But if you're in a box, you can get alcohol from the club.
Okay, I should.
If you have a private suite or a private box.
Yeah.
So like it's like the president's suite. If they have
visiting AD.
If Ted Cruz and he's done this comes to visit sees Baylor and Texas play at McLean Stadium and he's in the president's suite, he can order whatever he wants.
Okay. Yeah.
You can order what you want if you're in a private. So,
but
which is
not
kind of this class.
But not the Baylor
thing.
Club. You can't drink alcohol in the Baylor Club.
Not during a football game.
Wow.
Yeah. Because the Baylor Club, it's sorry everybody.
Dude,
it's
and this, by the way,
but
this is unique to Baylor.
The Baylor Club becomes club seats during football games, so you don't have to be a club member to buy a club seat.
Okay.
So like the Dallas Cowboys, you can buy a club seat, and there's bars up there, and you can go do the club seats, and you get the food and the. Baylor Club doesn't want me buying a Baylor Club seat for a football game and then getting to drink beer while everybody else doesn't get to drink beer.
Yeah.
So they don't sell it unless you're rich and you're watching the game with Linda Livingstone or the McLeans, then you can have alcohol.
I got one more.
It's kind of twisted.
I got one more for you before we take a break. I want your opinion on this.
All right.
So I was listening to my man Jake Hatch, Locked On BYU, Locked On Cougars.
Yeah.
And now he talked about a theory he has that sort of could apply to Baylor in the same way.
Okay.
The great success that BYU has been having in the transfer portal through NIL. Now that there's new rules that have been instituted, right, that have sort of taken away the golden keys to get players like AJ DeBonsa, right? Like now there's rules in place. Like, so you got your $20.5 million and you've got to justify all these NIL deals like in a proper fashion. At least that's the idea. A school like BYU, which has always gone and operated above board, right, is going to be less inclined to get those big time athletes now. It's all of a sudden there's been this amazing feast for BYU, a school like that. Or even you could say a school like Baylor, quite possibly because of the philosophical approach to school and the religious requirements, right?
Okay, wait.
Stronger for BYU, right?
So I'm struggling to follow what you're implying.
Okay.
Are we implying that BYU and Baylor are less likely to
break
cheat?
The rules? Yes.
And we think Texas and A&M and them are going to
100%.
Okay.
100%.
Well, so I would argue my feeling is BYU and Baylor are not less inclined to cheat. I just don't believe that. And B, I would argue that is the same position we've been in for 100 years. Like,
yeah, but so that's my point about BYU.
Okay.
BYU, I'm not
so
saying
they've had this pop.
They've had this pop.
And now we might regulate
and
back
now we may come right back down.
Okay.
And those,
that's interesting. That's an
like
interesting
the massive worldwide resources that BYU has, much like a school like Texas Tech has, right?
Yeah.
When you we're just talking about resources and liquid cash, right?
Yep.
Texas Tech is more likely to make sure they find every way possible to dip into that strength of theirs than a law-abiding BYU.
I don't know if I agree with that.
All right.
I might agree that there is a less likelihood of an under-the-table deal at BYU, But I think they're still gonna find a way to get the money and to pay the athletes.
All right, we're going to find out.
I do.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. We're going to find out if LeBron has a bag or not. We may or may not talk about that because that's something going on social media. We're going to talk about the Pacers, and we're going to talk about Oklahoma City, and we're going to talk about a huge game coming up tomorrow night, where right now the Pacers are 5.5-point underdog at home. The Pete Sousa Show presented by Slovacek rolls on after this.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at a stop. I thought I was fine, and then once I got home, I realized it's a lot worse than I thought. I ended up having a ruptured disc. You say you're not hurting, and then an hour later, you're saying you're in all this pain. I just felt like most people would think that I was lying. And that's when I decided to call Daniel Stark. I owe a lot to Daniel Stark. They really got me what I deserved.
The difference is stark.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down to afterwards, was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning. So we love Extraco.
I don't know, if Bubble wasn't here, I don't know what people would be doing, like making PowerPoints or something. Bubble allows you to make it real and for it to actually work. So I feel like Bubble bridges that gap and being able to give people the opportunity to make their ideas come to life really quickly too. I love that I can sit down and build something the way that I think it should be built and have the control over it.
Bubble turns ideas into fully scalable apps. Try Bubble today.
Hi, I'm Jo from Face Theory. You're going to want to have a specific goal for your skincare routine. What do you want to achieve? Active ingredients are really strong, and if you're using too many at once, your skin can get overwhelmed. Don't overspend on products. Choose products that have scientific research behind them. At Face Theory, if you're not happy with a product, just say so, just give us a shout and we'll give you your money back, no problem.
I know you're gonna love this Kodak That Plus printer. You guys just connect it to your smartphone and then you're gonna use the Kodak Photo Print app. It's going to print you a 4x6 photo. I am just in awe. I love how these turned out. Also, the printer comes with a free cartridge of 10 photo sheets. I can assure you, you are going to love this printer as much as my family has. You guys have to check it out for yourself.
Streamline event and appointment booking with Amelia's sleek, modern, and fully customizable booking forms. Tailor the colors, fonts, and design to match your brand and seamlessly integrate with your WordPress website. Whether it's for events or appointments, Amelia makes booking simple, stylish, and perfectly aligned with your business. Enhance your booking experience today at WPAmelia.com. That's WPAMELIA.com. Amelia.
When you learn a language with Babbel, you start a journey that takes you further and further. Anytime and anywhere you wish. It's easy and fun. Broadens your horizons and keeps your brain fit. A journey into new thoughts, new cultures, new adventures. So what are you waiting for? Start your journey with Babbel now. Go to babbel.com or download the app.
BadCreditLoans.com is a pioneering service provider that has carved a reputation in the financial industry for its dedication to helping individuals with bad credit secure loans. By making timely repayments, borrowers can gradually repair their credit history, thereby increasing their chances of securing better loan terms in the future. BadCreditLoans.com serves as a beacon of hope for those with bad credit. Simple, fast, and reliable loan application process. And its commitment to responsible borrowing makes it a trusted partner in the journey towards financial stability.
All right, the Pete Sousa Show rolls on. Scotty and I talking in the break about Baylor women's basketball and Kim Mulkey and the fact that there was always that old school story, right? That there was like some tension between the women's program and the men's program, particularly after Scott Drew won a championship, because, you know, Mulkey was like, hey, I've won 3. Where's the red carpet for me? Why isn't it as lush and pristine and long? And there was a whole lot of, there are all kinds of stuff attached to that. But that was another example of what we were talking about. Some of the resentment and tension that can grow within athletic departments as far as where money is being allocated. NBA Finals, Wednesday night, Pacers a 5.5-point underdog. I did come to and we'll get into some of this later on here, maybe over the next week or so. I obviously I say this, I qualify this all the time. ESPN's been like very good to me. I love ESPN. I love calling games for ESPN. Blah blah blah. Like that's all legit for real. Like so grateful that I get to do that. As a kid who grew up watching the NBA on NBC and the NBA Finals, really feeling like a masterpiece of an event, just like an overall hype machine. And I don't care who's playing, whether it's, there was a point in time, if you remember, where the bad boy Pistons were playing the Portland Trailblazers. That is not two like menacing media markets like New York and LA. I, as a kid, was still hanging on to every dribble because of the way those games were presented. Example. Then they would show, and this has got nothing to do with politics, so don't even take it there, but they would show the national anthem, right? They would show the starting lineups, okay? Which was kind of an intimate look at whatever team had going on, hype and excitement-wise pregame. It was always cool to see. Like, I can remember being so disappointed that, that Cyrus song that the Bulls would play, which basically became like the MJ song, and was part of their magical run to all those titles. I remember the Utah Jazz used the same friggin' song against the Bulls in the finals. I remember as a kid being like, what is going on? They can't have their own. I remember the Sonics used Run Like Hell from Pink Floyd. And they had the friggin' that gorilla or you know what I'm talking about? Harry and the Hendersons, dude, is coming down from the ceiling. Sasquatch. It was just amazing. This is before the Sonics and the Bulls played in the 97 NBA Finals. And you got the goosebumps. They start playing Run Like Hell by Pink Floyd. Now we're just coming back from break. And here it is. And it's no knock on Mike Breen or I don't have a real issue with. There's so much crap out there about like Doris Burke and Richard Jefferson, and I think that's like any broadcast team trying to find their footing and their chemistry. It's really, I think if anything, it's a lesson on just how delicate that is and how it can take a minute or two to get going, and why 3-man booths are really really difficult. They're difficult to flourish in, especially if you're an analyst. And so sometimes it feels like people are pushing it a little bit. Broadcasters, maybe it feels like they're pushing it when they're not. But it's so hard even for the best of the best, like a guy like Richard Jefferson, who we know is comfortable in his own skin, right? Still feels like sometimes he's trying a little hard to get his point in, because that's why he's there. Why wouldn't he do that? So that is, I think, something that broadcast team is still kind of wrapping their arms around, but they do a phenomenal job. In my opinion, I think Doris Burke is really good. And I have no issues with the broadcast team. I do have issues in the lack of hype. And I felt like in game 2, they were playing catch up, putting the trophies, the Larry O'Brien trophies on the court. What?
Like this right here? Yeah. You notice I did that?
Oh!
We have as much production value right here as ESPN. I can get a JPEG of the trophy too and throw it on the screen. Isn't that something?
There is the Larry. Dude, even as a
kid. And look,
kid,
when I put my hand up, it actually doesn't go in front of the trophy like it did half the time on their broadcast.
Come on, Scotty.
I'm just saying.
So I couldn't agree more. When I was a kid, I keep saying when I was a kid back in my day, but I remember there was the EA Sports game. I mean, this is right around like the John Madden football boom. There was Lakers versus Celtics. There was actually Bulls versus Lakers. There was an iteration of that game. And if you did it in playoff mode, they would have that script NBA Finals look on the court. or NBA playoffs, right? Like, where the hell did that go? I don't understand why that's not a point of emphasis or not some kind of a rule that, I can't believe the NBA can't have these courts put something like that on their court and actually have it on the hardwood and not have it like a JPEG and not actually forget to do it and then respond to criticism and then try to meet the moment with that superimposed Larry O'Brien trophy.
So I have a question for you.
Yeah.
And it kind of gets back to something you said Sunday night about small markets and the ratings being down.
Yeah.
Would they be treating the finals this way if it was Lakers Celtics this year?
No, they will be showing the starting line. I believe they would.
Yeah.
I believe they would.
So that to me sucks. As much as I understand why Lakers Celtics would be like the biggest thing on TV.
Yeah.
You should have the same production for the finals regardless of who's playing it.
Well, and why wouldn't you, especially for a team maybe people are less familiar with? Like, those starting lineups, the Detroit Pistons, when they had that PA guy named Mason. He might still be there. He was probably one of the best in the NBA at the time. This is like the Larry Brown Pistons. And, like, when they introduced Ben Wallace, dude, if you didn't get goosebumps, like,
dude,
you had a
I
problem.
remember.
You had a problem that I couldn't solve.
I remember.
I mean, it was, woo.
I could still name that whole starting Pistons lineup right now.
Yeah.
And it's because and I did not know them in the regular season living in Texas.
Exactly.
It's because they showed it.
Yes.
They talked about it, all those
You'd
guys.
see Rip Hamilton. You'd see Tayshaun Prince, right? You would see
dude,
Chauncey
bingo. Rasheed Wallace, yeah.
Billups.
Yes.
And now, I think it would be so cool to get to know the Pacers. By the way, the Pacers. I kind of feel like we know the Pacers. Well, not really, but Oklahoma City.
I think the Thunder. I think more people know the Thunder's lineup than the Pacers.
Yeah, and it was so, like, it kind of doesn't do the fans their justice because it was so loud in there. You could tell. I mean, just watching the pregame show, you really couldn't talk. And we had, the week you were off, we had Chris Williams from Oklahoma City here, and he was like, and I'd never heard this from someone from Oklahoma City, and I'd never been to a game there, but Chris is like, if you don't wear earplugs on the floor, like, you can't, like, you're screwed.
I mean, that's their only professional team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty cool.
It's like San Antonio. You go to a
Yeah.
Spurs game, it's similar. That's their only professional team. Like,
Yeah.
they get crazy.
All right, what about Halliburton?
Oh, gosh. Are we doing that before we bring Cam in?
I guess we can't today. We can do it tomorrow, though, because it's a Wednesday.
Let's have a longer discussion tomorrow. But, yeah, I was disappointed in your Sunday night stream, Pete.
Scotty, you are so in love with this guy.
I'm disappointed that you think the only way one can be a superstar is by scoring buckets.
Dude, he hasn't scored more than 20 points in the first two games of the finals. He hit an amazing game winner. Okay.
What do all the Michael Jordan stans tell me about why Jordan is still better than LeBron, despite LeBron having passed him in every statistical category?
Being clutch?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I can't argue with it because I think if I was just being intellectually honest, if I had a last-second shot to win a game, I do trust LeBron to take that shot, but I'd probably rather have Luka, and I'd probably rather have Michael Jordan.
Yes.
And now I'm asking myself, would I rather have Tyrese Halliburton?
I don't want to be dramatic, but
He's 4 for 4. He's 4 for 4 this postseason.
Then why don't I feel like that about him?
Because I knew what was going to happen in game 1. I said it on your show before game 1.
You did.
I knew it was going to happen. I turned on the TV because I'd actually taken off in the third quarter. I was busy. I looked at the score at the fourth. I saw the Pacers were within like 10. I was like, oh my God, they're going to give him the ball at the end again.
I couldn't believe it.
And he did it. And I knew when they had the ball with 5 seconds to go. I'm like, they're going to give this to Tyrese. Everybody in this building knows he's going to take some goofy-looking shot, and he is going to make it. And when he took the shot, I had no doubt. I had no doubt.
One last question for you. What is it, the chicken or the egg? Are teams not respecting him? How is he able to get these shots off? If he's such a killer, and this is not a knock on him at all. I'm trying to figure out if defenses have not yet caught up to how lethal he can be.
Pete, I don't know
if he's so good at getting loose.
I think it's both, if we're being honest. But listen, if this had just happened in the first series against the Bucks, I might go with your theory. If this had just happened in the second series, I might go with it. But by the time we get to the Knicks, you know what's going to happen. At the end of game 1, every person watching TV and every person in that building knew who was going to get the ball for the last shot.
He still got a real clean look off. What's his face? I forget the dude's name right now. Was kind of like in no man's land and didn't commit to kind of double him. And then
insane.
Yeah.
We all knew who was going to take that shot.
Yeah, and it wasn't Cam Stewart. We're coming back on the Pete Sousa Show, presented by Slovacics, with our friend of the show, Cam Stewart. We'll be right back.
For 75 years, Nalgene Outdoor has been your trusted companion, fueling adventures and helping protect the planet. We're committed to reducing waste, improving access to clean water, and providing simple, safe, and sustainable products for you and your family. No gimmicks, just durable, well-designed bottles built to last. Join us in our mission to amplify life, not complicate it. Because at Nalgene, what goes into our bottles matters as much as the adventures they fuel. Explore more at nalgene.com. That's NALGENE.com. Looking for tickets to the hottest shows, games, and events? Ticket Liquidator is your one-stop shop for great prices, no hassles, and guaranteed tickets. Since 2003, we've been connecting buyers and sellers, providing access to sold-out events at prices lower than most secondary market options. Whether it's sports, theater, or concerts, our massive nationwide network ensures you get the tickets you want, guaranteed. For the best seats at the biggest events, start with Ticket Liquidator today at ticketliquidator.com. That's TICKETLIQUIDATOR.com. Ticket Liquidator.
I'm Hunter, the founder of Hello Cake, and today we're digging into ED meds. The number one thing we hear is that guys are sick of waiting for ED meds to kick in. Traditional ED meds take about an hour to kick in as they have to go through your digestive system, where Hello Cake's ED medication dissolves under your tongue and works in about 15 minutes. That's about 3 times faster than traditional ED medication. Curious about ED meds? Go to hellocake.com.
InMotion is more than just a name. It's a legacy of innovation. From supplying electric vehicle parts like motors and inverters since the 1960s to creating cutting-edge electric scooters, hoverboards, and unicycles, InMotion is shaping the future of mobility. Whether you're looking for industrial power solutions or accessible personal transport, InMotion has you covered. Explore our products and experience the future of movement. Visit store.inmotionworld.com today.
Is your Mac running slow? Mac Booster 8 is your all-in-one solution to clean up 20 types of junk files, remove malware and viruses, and protect your device. It also optimizes your Mac's hard disk, fixes disk permission issues, and cleans memory, all to boost your Mac's performance to the max. Get your Mac running like new again with Mac Booster 8. Visit macboost.net today.
Finding a sleep sack that my baby likes has been a struggle.
The sleep sack from Joy is a major upgrade.
This all-natural eucalyptus, which is breathable and hypoallergenic, which is really great for your baby's sensitive skin.
And it's made with Climatech, which regulates your baby's temperature.
You can also get Joy's crib sheets, which are made of the same super soft material.
Joy gave my baby comfort
and gave me peace of mind.
At Matt Piffle, we believe in celebrating your journey, past, present, and future. Our unique personalized products are designed to boost your confidence, elevate creativity, and honor what matters most. From custom home decor to meaningful gifts, we help you cherish the memories that make you who you are. Visit mattpiffle.com and start celebrating your story today.
Maud Lily is your go-to for stylish and affordable fashion that fits your life. Whether you're looking for the perfect swimsuit for a beach day, a chic dress for a night out, or cozy tops for everyday wear, Maud Lily has it all. Their extensive collection of swimwear, including bikinis, tankinis, and one-pieces, always keeps you on trend, while their dresses and tops come in flattering styles for every occasion. Visit maudlily.com today.
I can't hear you all of a sudden.
How about now?
Oh, now I got you. Now I got you. All right. Pete Sousa Show. Let's do this thing, man.
He is the host of the Cam Show. He is also Locked On Baylor, and he's also those clips from your ice hockey show are impressive. I will say that they're
I
very
appreciate
well
you
done.
clarifying that it's ice hockey and not field hockey. I do. Thank you, though, Pete. Thank you.
What's it
That's
called?
been a lot of work. Locked On NHL Game Night.
And it's a slick looking product. You know what? One thing we're going to work towards here, God forbid I make Scotty's life any more difficult because he's actually the one doing all the work around here. But I would love a rundown at some point. Of course, then I would have to actually tell Scotty what we were talking about ahead of the show.
Yeah, and then you have to stick to it, and it's a lot for you, Pete. It's a lot.
That is a lot. But by the way, I want to bring you in with this not quite piece of breaking news, but I do want to ask you about Baylor. I want to lead off with this. This is Heather Dinich reporting this. I read a USA Today piece about this, but Deion Sanders is still ill and been out of the office. A source confirmed to ESPN on Tuesday. Sanders has been at his estate in Texas dealing with an unspecified health issue as the school's annual summer football camps began last week. A timetable for his return is unknown, but on Sunday, his eldest son, Deion Jr., said that, soon enough, y'all know or what he's going through or what he went through. But they're going to get back to Boulder. I feel like it's still related to his foot. I feel like it's got to be. That was like super serious. I heard at the time, this when he was at Jackson State, and we've read since, right? Like he almost lost his foot. Like it was a huge deal. So maybe he's not all the way out of the woods on that. But the dude's at the end of the day, he's kind of like a pipe hitting dude. He'll be back. He's a tough dude. That's what I believe.
Yeah. I mean, I hope he is. I'm not the biggest Deion fan, but I obviously don't want him to lose a foot or anything like that. I hope he's back.
Cam.
Yeah.
He's also very important to the Big 12.
Sure.
I mean, he's an essential character right now.
He's great for me as someone who talks about the Big 12 on YouTube. Absolutely. Deion's huge.
Have you talked about Baylor on your Locked On show, the Phil Steele rankings?
It's tomorrow's show. It's tomorrow's show. First segment. Look at you, Pete.
So a little preview for tomorrow's show, Locked On Baylor.
Yep.
Phil Steele has Baylor ranked number 1. And Sawyer Robertson, first teamer. At the quarterback position, Bryson Washington, first teamer. Josh Cameron, second teamer. What's it? Omar Agbidian, right?
Yes, Agbidian. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a first teamer. Their guard. Keaton Thomas.
My guy, yep.
So I feel like, and I can speak for Scotty here, I feel like I've been validated. I really do. Like, not that Phil Steele is the be all end all, but are we right to feel so good about this Baylor team now headed into the season? A team that has 15 returning starters. I was actually shocked to see that.
Yes, you are right to feel that way. I said it on the show last week. I mean, this is I think the best hype around a Baylor team in 10 years. Now, in 2022, off their best season ever, when they won the Sugar Bowl, won the Big 12, 12 wins. In 2022, they were ranked number 10 to start the season, but they did not have the amount of starters coming back that they have now. They didn't have the quantity nor the quality that they have coming back this year. Now, last year's team did not win 12 games, so don't get me wrong, but it was 6 of the last 7 to end the year, including the bowl game. And they legitimately proved that they do have a first-team quarterback, a first-team running back, a first-team wide receiver, and a big-time player in Keaton Thomas on the defensive end. And they went out and got reinforcements on the defensive side of the ball. So you bring in that experience, most of your offensive line intact, pretty much all of your weapons intact, especially we'll find out with this Ashton Hawkins eligibility fight that I think he'll win. And you bolstered your 2 groups on defense, really, your pass rush and your defensive backfield. How much they bolstered it, we obviously don't know until they step on the field, but you absolutely bolstered that. So you were a team that, you can't do this, but if the season had started a few weeks later or Sawyer Robertson had been under center week 1 and during fall camp, you're probably talking about a 9 or 10 win team rather than an 8 win team. And so, yeah, this is as hyped as it's been in a while. And I do think it's justified. Like, there were a ton of questions going into 22 with that number 10 ranking of like, yeah, but are they good here? And is the quarterback really proven? This, you don't have as many questions.
I was crazy about DeQuan Finn. I have to admit that.
Yeah.
I have to admit it. I mean,
Locked On episode with Pete Sousa talking about how great this appointment television, DeQuan.
I was so excited.
But I was right there with you. I mean, I couldn't have imagined it would be that bad, to be honest.
I was so in on him. Scotty, what do you want to say? Because we want to wrap up the Baylor point and then get back to. Go ahead, Scotty.
I did not have a show back at the time, so there is no way to justify this. But I literally said to multiple friends, if this DeQuan Finn kid is that good, why are he and Sawyer still competing to start in fall camp?
Yeah, that was the first.
That was a red flag.
Yeah.
See, I took the opposite approach, which is not. This is not me taking a victory lap now, but I was saying on the show, because I was concerned that it took so long to name a quarterback when you went out and got one out of the portal. That
paid
was
$1 million
a
for
conference player of the year. I was like, hey, if the battle keeps going this long, maybe that means Sawyer Robertson's just ready to play. Maybe that's it. And
Which was also true.
Yeah, and to be fair, I'll admit now, I didn't really believe that 100%, but I was like, maybe that means Sawyer's just ready to take the job. And I guess that is what it ended up being. Or probably a mixture of both, but yeah.
I greatly underestimated Sawyer Robertson. I feel like we never really got to see a healthy version of him here at Baylor, barring like a series.
Vin? Yeah.
No. I'm talking about Sawyer Robertson. Like when he filled in.
In 23.
Yeah. I mean, it was really like he got hurt right away, and we never really saw. They were both hurt, he and Chapin. But I want to move on now to another topic. I got a couple more things I want to get through with you. This 3 of which are New England related out of the 4. We just did the one. Yes. We just did the Baylor football one. The Pablo Torre Bill Simmons beef was a lot of fun. One part about it that I'm starting to really take issue and sort of zag where people are zigging, that like now I'm like, okay, we are totally dismissing Bill Belichick and the monster he is as an amazing coach, to the point where Pablo Torre is talking about all the coaches on the Bill Belichick coaching tree as if they all suck, right? As if they all weren't wonderful assistant coaches. And he left off the list. He left conveniently. No, didn't mention Nick Saban.
Right. Yep.
Didn't mention Kirk Ferentz. Right.
Longest tenured coach in one school in college football. Yep.
Didn't mention even a guy like Pat Hill who kicked ass at Fresno State. Right.
Yeah. And the other thing is like Belichick seems to, maybe it's because I'm exposed to it so much. Belichick seems to be like the only great coach in American sports that we use that argument for time and time again. Like nobody used that for Tom Landry. Nobody said that. Nobody used it for Don Shula. Nobody used it for in other sports. Nobody used it for John Calipari. What's his coaching tree? What's Bill Self's
Although Tom
coaching
Landry
tree?
Could say right off the top, I'm thinking Dan Reeves and Mike Dick.
Right. He's got a good one. I'm using some good, some bad here, and yet you don't hear that thrown out there at all, except when it comes to Belichick. Because we were in this age where everyone wanted a piece. Everyone wanted a piece of the Belichick thing, and they kept hiring these guys.
Gotcha. Yes, that is a great point. Yeah, it's kind of the same thing. It's like if you were in the same room with Sam Presti. I remember when I was in Charlotte, they hired like an assistant GM who was terrible. But because he was in the same office with Sam Presti, everybody thought he was a genius. Same dude with our boy at the Rams. What's his name? Young guy.
Sean
McVay.
Yeah, everyone just wants McVay guys. No matter what their role is. I mean, we were at a point where the Giants hired the Patriots special teams coordinator to be their head friggin' coach. Like that wasn't that long ago. They hired Joe Judge to be their head coach.
That's a good one. That's a good point.
It's just made no sense, like when you actually think about it. But
yeah.
What makes less sense is bringing him back to be the quarterback's coach. But that's another.
I feel that now we have gone so crazy on this Belichick personal life story, which, by the way, we probably should have. But we are now lost in all the sauce is how good of a coach this dude is. And I also believe, and I said it here on this show, as Scotty's laughing, we've all had someone in our life, an older guy that we know of that had some dough that gets divorced and ends up with a younger girl for a little bit.
Sure.
Whether it's in our distant orbit or in our immediate orbit, we all know the story and can probably personalize it.
And aspire to be that someday, of course.
Of course we do.
Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe not
you
quite
do.
this drastic, but yeah.
but no, like, and I think that a lot of times those relationships end up ending, right? Because the person with the dough snaps out of it and realizes that they weren't in love or whatever. So I just believe that this situation could dissolve the personal part of it quicker than we anticipate, and his prominence as a head football coach will be restored. Not that it's ever really gone anywhere. I mean, a couple bad years of the Pats, no question. But I just think that everybody, like the Pablo Torre stuff, like, oh, we saw so much writing on the wall that all this was happening, and how do we miss it? And blah. It's like, let's just press the pause button here. Guy's a legend.
Yeah, and I don't love Pablo Torre thinking he's like Woodward and Bernstein because he's on the Belichick Jordan Hudson beat, and like he and Jeff Pearlman calling out Bill Simmons, like, who is he to talk about journalism? It's like, I don't know, who's anybody to talk about journalism? You know what I mean? It's like, that's where I'm just like, all right, we don't need to act holier than thou about this. This is a gossip story. This is a TMZ story and People Magazine kind of story. Like that's all this is. Like, we don't need to act like we're above that. Yeah, and I get it. It's weird. Like, we've talked about it on my show quite a bit. Like, it is weird. It is newsworthy. But let's not act like we're breaking Watergate here.
No.
We're
not. Okay, another one for you.
Yeah.
What about your dude, Royal Anthony?
Roman Anthony.
Yeah, Anthony Royal. Roman Craig.
Sure.
What's his name? Roman. What was the guy's name
Roman
from
Gabriel?
Roman Gabriel. What was the guy? Why can't I think of the guy's name from Succession?
Oh, I didn't watch that.
Oh man. Roman Roy.
People talked about it too much. That is a fatal flaw of mine. When people talk about a show too much, I'm like, all right, I don't want to watch it.
Well, you should watch.
Game of Thrones was the same thing, and I don't think I would like Game of Thrones anyway. It's just not really my speed, but that happens a lot.
What's up with your boy Roman Reigns? Nice ones.
Roman Anthony.
What is he the real deal? Like, are you
Yes.
super excited about him? Is he going to change the Red Sox organization?
Well, I mean, hopefully, but because they need some change. But this was something I've been bitching about on my show for weeks. Like, nobody could understand why he wasn't being hauled up. Like, there was really no stat to point to of like, oh, he needs to get a little bit better at this. And we just kept hearing BS excuse after BS excuse from the Red Sox GM, Craig Breslow. He'd be like, oh yeah, well, we don't want him to feel like he needs to be the savior of the team. And I'm sitting here being like, brother, you're in fourth friggin' place. Like, if anyone's going to be a savior of the team, let's try it out, okay? Because you're in fourth place with a season expectations of, going to the postseason. And the other thing was, I don't know if we can get him in the lineup every day. Yeah, because Trevor Story's like the worst qualified hitter in baseball, and Abraham Toro and Romy Gonzalez are hitting cleanup and batting fifth, which are guys, everyone's really familiar with outside of the Red Sox. Yes, Roman Anthony's the real deal. All it took was an outfielder to get hurt and for him to hit a 500-foot home run over the weekend for him to get called up. 497 feet, Pete. That is the longest home run hit in professional baseball on this continent this year. And that's all it took to get him up to the major leagues. The kid's the real deal, man. Number one prospect in baseball. The kid's a stud. You've got this trio of great prospects that are now all in the major league lineup. They hit 5th, 6th, and 7th last night with Roman Anthony out there, Marcelo Meyer, Christian Campbell, all top 10 prospects going into this season. It's a time to be excited. The team still stinks, but it's a time to be excited.
All right, one more question for you.
Yeah.
Let's do a little word association. I want you to give me, not word association, I want you to fill in the blank, okay?
Okay.
An ESPN NFL story telling me that Drake May is working so well in the Patriots' new offense is
predictable. in a couple of ways. Predictable that that's what the story's going to be. I think the media is all over Drake May. I mean, they have caught Drake May fever, but also predictable in that, Josh McDaniels, is he a great head coach? Of course not. But he's a pretty damn good offensive coordinator, and he works really well with young quarterbacks, young running backs, young receivers. That's a bit of a different deal, and them learning the playbook. But this guy got Mac Jones to a legit Pro Bowl. Like, he was an alternate, but that was a legit Pro Bowl season when you look back at the numbers. And they made the playoffs with an arsenal that's not that much better than what Drake May's got right now. So yes, it's predictable. You can't just automatically, and this is a problem I've had with Patriots fans this offseason, you can't just automatically be like, well, he's going to get much better in year two. That year two is a really tough year for quarterbacks. And the last one we saw, like the last one they drafted and developed, sucked in year two under a new offensive coordinator, which is what Drake May's going through right now. He just happens to be dealing with the offensive coordinator that Mac Jones was really good under. So it's not just automatic that this kid becomes a top 10 quarterback in the league in year two, but you saw plenty of promise in year one. I think he is going to make a jump in year two. And with an elite defense, the Patriots might actually win some football games.
All right, you're elite. I'll see you on segment 2 of your show in about 15, 20 minutes.
Can't wait.
The Cam show is about to kick off. All right, we're going to kick Cam out. We're going to wrap up from here. Swingler, by the way, absolute hit it in the nickel seats with Zach Burke the week that I wasn't here, and I can't thank those guys enough. Almost at 30K subscribers. Honestly, I don't really know how that happened. I think it's just kind of like showing up every day, and just obviously we're putting stuff out there that people are taking to, so we so appreciate that. Thanks to Slovacics. Thanks to Sikora Family Ford, Daniel Stark Injury Lawyers, of course. And by the way, we're going to talk more about this. Kapalua Zip Lines, dude. Unbelievable. My brother's buddy, Michael Binder. It's a zip line company that in Maui that was just amazing. So we'll talk more about that because we love trade deals, right? Pete Sousa Show. We'll be back tomorrow. By the way, we're previewing the U.S. Open with Murph Barton. We're going to help you make some money. And Scotty and I are going to go toe-to-toe over what is up with this Tyrese Halliburton guy. Is he a star? Is he not? Join us tomorrow. We'll see.
It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at 70 miles an hour. I was injured, had a concussion. The insurance company, they delayed. They were playing games from the initial conversation. They weren't going to help me. The biggest thing I learned through this is that you can't go through this alone. I called Daniel Stark. They were going to help me, and everything was going to be all right. Daniel Stark got me 10 times the insurance company offered.
The difference is stark.
We are Rogue Media Sports.